Hello, let's talk about a great weakness in boxing and how to injure a boxer easily in a street fight, okay? Boxers are powerful punchers and they're volume punchers, and as far as evasiveness, slipping, shoulder rolling, their defense against punches is fantastic. They're formidable, okay? However, they're vulnerable. And if you've never boxed bare knuckle, if you've never trained your hands, here's how I guarantee you're going to get injured. You're going to throw a punch and you're going to land, pow, all right? The hands are going to come up and you're going to start flurrying and you're going to hit an elbow and that fist is going to hurt like heck. It may crack or break on impact. It's going to start swelling, okay? It happens in bare knuckle sparring in karate all the time, okay? In bare knuckle sparring in Kung Fu. I'm glad there's a lot of videos out there where people that did their research and maybe even some practical training see that you have this type of guard like this or this, right? In old English boxing, Irish boxing, you have it in karate, you have it in Xingyi Chuan, you have it in Lohan Chuan, you'll see Shaolin sparring in this position, and you'll just be like, well, that's so stupid, they didn't know anything back then, it's all fake martial arts. A lot of these newer martial artists, this new batch, kind of think that way, and I think it's pretty ignorant. They're pretty ignorant of reality. But the truth of the matter is, without padding on your hands, they snap, they break all the time. A perfectly well executed power punch that hits perfectly on the jaw, even a jaw like mine that's kind of has some flesh over it, round. If you simply hit with these bottom three at the right angle, one of them snaps. Okay? If the person moves a little bit into your punch and they hit these knuckles, they break. They snap. Little ligaments tear. Okay? The fist has its strength, it has its weaknesses, and back in the day, boxers didn't punch with the wild abandon in terms of power that people with gloves, with wraps and gloves, do now. All right? If you don't believe me, I don't know. Look at all the so-called bare-knuckle events. Look at all of them. They're not really bare-knuckled. They have their hands wrapped. I have yet to see these new professional bare-knuckle leagues with literally, absolutely, completely bare knuckles. I have yet to see it. Okay? And now, if there is a bare-knuckle event that paid money, that had a crowd, and it's posted somewhere on the internet, somebody please direct me to it. Because I haven't found it, and I have searched, and I have searched. And remember, I don't really need to work. I'm a disabled vet. So, I get a disability check every month from the government. I have some clients that pay me in cash. And I've saved my money. I've done what I could, so I don't really have to work. So I got lots of time to look this stuff up. I spend a lot of time trying to look for information. I go to the library, I read actual physical books, I train, I teach, and I have yet to see a bare knuckle championship anywhere where that's I'm not talking about something in someone's backyard, but even these backyard bare knuckle matches, I mean, a lot of times they'll wrap those hands. They'll have something on the hand, right? Bare knuckles. When you hit a forehead, even with moderate power, you're guaranteed to injure that hand and do damn near nothing to the forehead, right? Top of the head, overhead right. At that angle, you're almost guaranteed to break these knuckles or these digits. All right, that's why hammer fists and knife hands are so much better in a bare hand situation, right? But if you're fighting with your hands up and your opponent's fighting with your hands up and you start flurrying at each other's heads and covering, even hitting the forearm, it can injure that hand. And if that match goes 3 minutes, I can almost guarantee you someone's going to impale their hand on an elbow, pop it, hurt like heck. And it's going to affect the rest of that fight. If it doesn't stop them from fighting, it's going to slow them way the hell down. It's going to take that hand more out of the action, and it's going to cause clinching. All right, which is why traditional martial artists from Shaolin Kung Fu with their iron palm to karate with their makawara and Koreans with that straw kwango, people hitting stones and trees and all these things. That's why it was so paramount, because that knuckle, while dangerous, was also fragile. That's also why there's the adage, hit the soft with the hard and the hard with the soft. If you want to hit someone in yuntang, pressure point, right, they say use that palm or use something harder like an elbow, right? But don't use a fist, because that's right there, a little bit miscalculation, you hit that forehead, pow! That hand starts rocketing out of the play, and that hand begins throbbing and swelling. And if it's broken and you land another punch, oh my God. All right. How many of you have sparred bare knuckle, even no contact? How many of you? How many of you in Kung Fu, Karate, Silat? How many of you have done that and said, let's go bare knuckle and hard to the chest with leg kicks? How many? And sweeps and takedowns. The toes jam, especially if you're fighting barefoot. The fingers jam all the time, because throughout most of your life you're wearing shoes. I happen to never wear shoes in my house if I can avoid it, and I don't wear slippers. But when you're outside, you wear shoes because you have to, right? I can't go grocery shopping barefoot, especially in the winter. I can't ride my bike barefoot with the way the pedals are. They're spiky, right? And so, but then not all of your shoes are thick, right? You may be wearing thickly padded sneakers. I have these leather martial arts shoes that I got from China, right? Kind of like similar to Adidas, but cheaper. They don't have a lot of protection for the instep and the toe, right? So, that's why a lot of these old martial arts styles, to include Western boxing, right? If you absolutely completely didn't have your hands gloved and wrapped, you punched economically. If you punch the face, the number one target is that nose, because not only is it softer, there's also a hole behind it, so your fist depresses into it. I know. I've been on the receiving and giving end of this, right? You can punch full power, full speed to someone's nose, hit it just a little bit up on that bridge, and you are very unlikely to hurt that hand. You do maximum damage, and that nose is going to break. Second is the eye socket, because it's a dip, it's a recession, and if you land a quick jab, a back fist, or a straight right in that eye, even though there's hard bone, if you just kind of aim a little bit low, your fist will slide up. I mean, it may not stop the fight, it will give him a concussion, but that eye begins to puff, swell, sometimes cut and bleed, and that can end a fight or seriously affect a fight more than a knockout, right? And third, I would say somewhere here around the jaw, right? Or maybe behind the ear, which is soft, right? Which isn't a legal target in many competitive sports, because it is dangerous, right? But we have this impression that boxing is the number one supreme martial art when it comes to hands, and I think we need to be aware of what bare knuckles are, and what bare flesh and bare bone are. All right? Can you imagine? I've heard of this happening, where someone punched someone in the mouth and knocked the person's teeth out, but they embedded in the juncture between the two knuckles. Right? Can you imagine that? And there's the risk of infection, bloodborne pathogens, AIDS, hepatitis, who knows what. Right? That's why hammer fists, back fists, this sort of looping hook punch designed to fit into the temple or the jaw. It's not a super powerful punch, but it's extremely accurate, and it targets that venous structure over there, right? That's why knife hands and palms are so important. That's why in the clinch, things like claws and rakes and gouges, clutching the throat, that's why they're so incredibly effective. And let's not forget our knees and our elbows. That's why when you kick, the ball of the foot or the shin are preferred. I've had many people say, well, you can't do the ball of the foot. You'll just never execute it in combat. I mean, 7-year-olds do it in I think in the 70s and 80s, because of the tournament scene in America, we really got into these Bill Wallace style kicks with the instep, and that's cool if you do have shoes, but even with shoes, the instep's kind of breakable. The shin and the ball of the foot are preferred, and Lyoto Machida used to hit people with that and knock him the hell out with liver shots and spleen shots. All right, so bare flesh, bare bone, soft versus hard, hard versus soft. Not just for martial art techniques being soft in nature or deflective and hard as in focus, but soft body parts and hard body parts. This palm is bone covered with flesh. That's great for hitting hard parts. Again, the knife hand, you've got a lot of flesh, even though that's a small bone, but it does fit nice into the soft linear areas, right? This is not sport advice, and this is not, male ritual violence where, hey, you want to step outside. This is more like, again, what I call the world of had to. Sometimes you live in the world of what you have to do rather than what you want to do. And in the world of have to do, sometimes you have to be careful about those hands and how you use them against bare flesh and bone. There's a lot of people saying that Filipino martial arts and silat stuff with the guntings and intercepting. How hard is it to do this? How hard is it to do this? You just practice the scratching yourself, right? People do it naturally all the time. Now I have a guarding hand up. Someone starts throwing power punches, you start doing this, move in, right? They're going to hit that elbow. Do this, right? If you can parry a punch, you can parry a punch into your elbow. It's actually not that hard. And once people start throwing bare knuckles and they hit something solid, their punching style begins to change. They're like, wow, right? Now, that's not to say that there are some fantastic boxers who can adapt to the street. It happens all the time in the hood, okay? But think about it. Mike Tyson, one of the greatest power punchers of all time, broke his hands in a street fight successfully hitting someone in the head, right? Folks, just train with a little bit of realism. Be aware of what would happen when you step out of the world of want to and into the world of have to.